Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Mel. How are you doing?
Oh gosh, I miss you guys so much.
Well, you've been so busy. Are you back at work or what's going
Oh
on?
gosh, no. I had to go to all of these doctor's appointments, and plus I didn't feel well in between. I had picked Jeremy up at the airport last Saturday to
Oh,
be with
yeah.
his family. He just got back. His nephew took him. But anyway, no, I had to go to those other appointments, but then in between I wasn't feeling that great. And it's because of my leave that I had to go anyway. And my doctor, he's not like 100% holistic or anything, but he's cool. Like he's not getting the backs. I'm not getting the back. You know what I mean? But he's really good with my paperwork. And I had to go like every couple of weeks, like to do that. It's just part of the Babylon stuff.
Ugh.
Now after this weekend, I'm done. So now I can be where I want to be.
Oh, good.
Johnny said that he's going to come in like right before 4 o'clock. Jeremy's on his way right now. So I was just going to give like you guys, host and co-host or whatever until Johnny comes in. Is that okay?
Oh, sure.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing okay. I mean, we're in total lockdown again. We got the military in Halifax. It's crazy, just
I
crazy.
just finished
But
watching videos on that late last night.
yeah, for me, it doesn't change my life much because I'm pretty much a recluse. But it changes. I can't go shopping. I mean, I can go grocery store shopping, but apparently they're going to set the military up so they can check to see whether you're supposed to, it's just bullshit and I'm
It's
tired
bullshit.
of it.
There was a meme that I found that I posted months ago. I think it was on Dojoearth. It was on one of the Facebook pages because I don't do Facebook that much, but it showed a girl standing at a copier, and it said something like, yeah, this is me making everybody their COVID IDs.
Yeah.
But it's not funny. No, I mean, I'm not just. I saw some of that, and I just could not. I mean, if you need anything, let us know.
Oh, no, I'm okay. I mean, I'm so glad I have a bunny and I'm so glad I have learned to live on practically nothing. So, I will definitely get through this, but it's just insane.
It is.
Totally.
Elizabeth, the breatharian, huh?
Yeah, well, I think in a pinch I could.
You probably could.
And I'm just so grateful that I don't need to make fancy meals. And basically I've got all kinds of wild or rather kitchen herbs growing that my bunny loves and that I love. And we still have an abundance of hay and pellets. So, we're,
You got a bunny, huh?
Oh, I have a beautiful bunny.
Oh
His
man,
name is Stumper. I'll open my camera, see if you can see him.
yeah.
Oh, see what color? Yeah.
He is hard to see on this carpet.
Oh no, look at his ears.
Yeah, he's just.
Oh yeah.
Oh, look.
Yeah, he's just a beauty. Or she, telling them apart is not easy. Really, it's not. I keep looking for his balls, but I never find them. So I'm now thinking it's a female. And
Do you keep her inside?
yeah, well, I'm on the third floor or the second floor, depends which door you come in. And there's a lot of dogs that come around the hood. I do go pick him up some beach grass. He loves grass. And so I try to get.
Sorry to mute you, Elizabeth. I turned it off because we're at 3:30, our infamous 33. How's everybody doing today? You can feel free to unmute yourself and chime in. I just wanted to officially start the meeting and let you guys know Johnny B is going to be here at 4 o'clock. He had some guests over that he wasn't planning on being this late, but you know how that goes. Glad to hear he has friends or family over. Glad to see you guys here with us today. Been a bit of a journey for me the last couple of weeks. Haven't really had any progress on the homestead front. Was back east for a week, and that was awesome to get to visit back there, though it was under not the greatest of circumstances, but that's life, and we take the vitriol as it comes. But how are you all doing today?
You're muted, Debbie.
There it is. It always moves around the screen every time, depending on how many people. Anyway, it's great to see you, Jeremy. Yeah, and everybody else too. I saw you for a minute, Elizabeth. That was really nice to see your actual self and your little bunny. Jeremy, I was going to ask about your Grammy.
Well, since someone asked, like, I'll give a brief thing here. I was trying not to make this too much about that, but Gammy is home with hospice, and she's not getting out of bed. I think she has the physical capability to do that, but she doesn't have the mental, emotional, just the drive to do so. It was really great to be back there with her and be able to ease my sister's transition. Having done that before, for my mom, I kind of had a lot of just suggestions and just the bedside manner that you kind of need for that with someone, and was really nice. She after a couple days being home, had a few visitors from her church and friends from her old neighborhood that came over, and that was the first time, because I was there for about 3 days or 4 days before anyone visited, and after some of her church friends visited, was the first time I heard her even mention. She was like, "Oh, as soon as I get downstairs and unpack the rest of my boxes," I was like, "Okay, well, I see what it is now. You just need enough people to come here and visit you, and maybe we can motivate you." And it's kind of weird, you should still want to do that yourself, but I understand when you're 86, it's and you've gone through a sickness that had you in the hospital for 2 weeks, and your granddaughter's husband is also in the hospital, and he's still in the hospital. They did finally shut the ventilator off, and he's breathing on his own, but it's haggardly, and he's going to have a long road ahead of him. They're going to have to do, they're doing a tracheotomy Monday, just so they, because he has random attacks where he breathes really just hyperventilating kind of deal. And if that happens over and over again, then eventually one of those times, if somebody doesn't respond fast enough, then it's going to be the end of the road. So, and yeah, he's going to have at least, according to doctors, 6 months to a year of rehab, therapy, counseling, stuff like that, because he's not going to be able to do anything that he used to be able to do, being in a coma for that long. He's going to have to relearn to walk. So all that aside, I'm doing well. I got to go back and learn what I needed to learn, see what I needed to see, giving myself that distance for 4 or 5 weeks, and then going back kind of opened my eyes quite a bit to the dynamics in the family and certain people that I'm pretty sure I'm just done with. Not going to talk to them at all. I made effort to move my life around to expedite them getting to see my grandmother, and then just dropping out and ghosting me and not saying anything. Okay, well, that tells me that I'm willing to go the distance, and you aren't even really willing to drive 20 minutes because you're so self-absorbed. I don't know what the word is, or you just can't face the pain of seeing someone in that condition. Sure, but just say that. Maybe it's too hard for them to say that. I won't judge them, but I will, but not here. So thank you for asking. I appreciate it. It is good to be back though, and I do find myself with a renewed just drive to want to get out to Arizona, and no matter whether I have a building that with 4 walls in it to live in or not, I just want to get started on the garden, because I've found a lot of really awesome inspiration from a group of people called the Green Dream Project that did basically exactly what me, Nicholas, and Will were doing. It's a husband and wife kind of team that left a home in California, totally on grid, and are doing totally off grid, and built themselves a giant cistern with a pool liner, and gabions, which I didn't know what that was, but it was just building natural rock walls, you know, and some earth bags. And yeah, they're living completely off rainwater harvesting as far as water is concerned in the Arizona desert. So to the people that said that in like the first homestead dojo, and I was like, and so, which they do have outbuildings to put the gutters on to collect the rainwater. So we'd still need that to get that, but it told me it could be done. It showed me it could be done, which is really impressive. You know, I spent a lot of time looking, thanks to Danny, on that, because he gave me like a super long list of permaculture videos that have also given me a lot of other, you know, cover crop and like shade crop style things that we're gonna want out there in the desert, like moringa trees, and St. John's wort is really good. It supposedly grows like wildfire out there and is, you know, not only medicinal but can provide an understory and just health for the soil. Which is really what we're going to be trying to do is bring that soil back to life, because then the rest does itself really. If you can sink, slow, and spread water in that soil, you know, and especially with something that's a dense cover crop like St. John's wort can be, I'll see us in a couple of years. It'll be, you know, like Gaddafi green in the desert style stuff, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, since we're waiting on Johnny, if any of you have anything that you wanted to talk about, I saw Elizabeth with your bunny. What's the bunny's name like? And is that a pet rabbit, or is that you know?
Oh, it's definitely a pet rabbit.
Okay.
And I love him, her. I'm not sure what he is, and that's why I laughed when Johnny was saying his experience last week, and I wanted to say to him, at least you know that you have one male for sure, because you know, and it's one of the two, and because there's not two males, that's a really good hutch to have. Anyways, I'll say it to him when he comes. I was quote unquote gifted with this bunny from my neighbor next door when his new baby was coming in and they no longer had room for him. And I never wanted a bunny, but I'm very grateful for the companionship. Plus, he makes me keep my house cleaner than I used. Well, not than I used to, but he creates so much droppings and hay and miscellaneous toys. You know, I've got boxes everywhere in this room, and they're all his toys. And he's just a really great, calm little guy that makes my life full of joy. When I do my yoga, he goes running around in circles, and it's really like having a good friend. And so yeah, his name is Thumper. That's his name he came with, and I didn't want to change it.
That's what I was going to ask, is what was his name? And of course, if you've owned more than one rabbit in your life, you've probably owned a rabbit named Thumper, and that's okay. Like,
well, exactly. And yeah, you know, I could change it to Thumperella because, again, I'm not sure what she is, but it doesn't matter. I'm not planning to have another one. And but they are great pets, and I am collecting because he drops his turds, and their turds are so easy, like the most benign turd I've ever come across. Cat poo, dog poo, ugh. But rabbit poo is, and you can plant it directly into your pots. You don't have to dilute it. You don't have to age it. So I've got natural fertilizer and a friend.
Yeah, if you hadn't said that, that would have been the next thing that came out of my mouth, is that rabbits are just a farmer, homesteader, like anybody that's growing anything's best friend. Like, you know, other than alpaca.
On one level, but then they will also eat what you're growing. So you got to make sure that's separate from where they are, because they will. And,
yes, okay. Yeah, on that level, yes, they're not your best friend, because they will eat the stuff, the tender, nice little shoots of stuff that's just getting established, like just come decimate that. So yeah, you definitely want some, you know, a hutch or some rabbit wire fencing if you're going to let them
and raised beds. But raised beds will help a little bit. Now this guy hasn't figured out that he can actually walk on linoleum, which is my gift from him because that keeps him out of my bedroom. Yesterday, it had been about a month since I let him in my bedroom. And I was just going to bed to read for a while. And I thought, oh, maybe he's figured out that I don't want him to pee on my bed. Well, he lasted maybe 10 minutes. And it was like, oh, shit. And I even put a tarp under my blankets in case, because I've got a futon. I really don't want his pee on there. But so all I did was take away that runner that went into my bedroom. So he is just skittish about linoleum. And that is a great way of controlling him because he's got full access. I never lock him up. But he's got places he likes to run and hide. And he's got his little kennel that I keep, you know, he can go in. I never close it. So it's fun to have another being, a living, soft being that doesn't complain. And when he wants more greens, he runs circles between my legs like he does an infinity loop around my feet as I'm walking. And that's his signal. I want greens right now. So, okay. And fortunately, I have rosemary, thyme, oregano, basil, and I got one other one. Oh, mint, which he loves. So I have
okay.
them all
Didn't
growing
realize.
around in, pardon?
I said I didn't realize that they would eat like some of the more, you know, what you would consider spicy or herby, like more flavorful greens like that. Like that's interesting. I'm sure that makes for better compost, or not even compost, just for better fertilizer from their droppings too. Like that.
Well, you have to be careful how much you give him. So it's just like treats. Some people feed them fruit, dried fruit, but those are very sweet. And carrots are almost lethal. They're so sweet. So you can only give a tiny bit of carrot. And I discovered, it took me long enough to realize it, and his favorite thing is Brussels sprouts. He can only get one of those every 3-4 days, otherwise he gets gas. And they can't eliminate gas, so it's painful for him. So but he loves them. So that's the trick. It's like, I love tobacco. Whoops. So only a little bit for him, but he does love them. And you learn. And a little bit of lettuce. If I give him too much lettuce, I end up throwing out the lettuce because it goes all wilty.
Yeah, and that's all really good information to have as someone that does eventually plan on having rabbit hutches and rabbits for their droppings. Like all that food information is really, really valuable stuff. You know, and varying their diet, I'm sure, keeps them much healthier, much happier, and keeping it I didn't know that about carrots. That's the traditional thing that you think of about feeding rabbits.
We all got it from Bugs Bunny, didn't we? But it's BS. It's way too, now some people have been able to feed them carrots, but long term it's not good. They can live up to 8 to 10 years. So I want him to have a nice long life, you know. And but yeah, and they eat pellets, which are just made from hay. But that's also supposed to be low, not too many of that. Now, he hasn't figured that out. I'm only supposed to give him 1/4 of a cup a day. He probably gets 3/4 of a cup because he does that little thing, I'm hungry now. And now one thing he will do, and he doesn't hurt me a bit, he'll take a little nip at my clothing. Just like, okay, I want something. And I have to figure out what it is, but it's okay. It's our way of communicating. And did Johnny get here yet? No? Okay. I don't want to.
No, Johnny, no, you're fine. And that's why I asked for anybody that has input, because same as me, like I don't really have much of anything prepared as I was back east, you know, the last couple of weeks. I didn't get to join for last weekend's. I don't think I did anyway. It's just been kind of a blur with everything that's going on and all the traveling I've been doing. And honestly, what I've been doing in the meantime is just, like I said, looking into what we're going to be able to do out there in Arizona, and just giving me a lot of hope. That I really recommend anybody that hasn't heard of them, check out Green Dream Project on YouTube. They're like really, really just an awesome couple, and they have not just like, they didn't just build like a giant cistern, but like they're building an earth bag, like root cellar slash home, like, and a dome on top of it, which is like exactly some of the stuff that I want to do in the long run. And just really innovative, cool stuff. Like, you know, you're building a shed and you don't want to, you know, you don't want everything in your shed to roast. So, you know, in the Arizona sun, so you put a solar chimney on there, which I didn't know what a solar chimney was, but you can just put a piece of black pipe up through the roof with a little cover on it to keep bugs from getting in, and then put a little vent in your door on the, you know, on the northern side, put the pipe on the southern side, and it'll just, through convection, create an air current in your building. That instead of, they were saying that like their building went from being 110 on hot days to 82, no AC. Like that 30 degrees is a world of difference, like in storing things for long term. Like that's beautiful. Especially if you then also have a root cellar, like you can grow squash and corn and store it for a year plus out there in the desert if you got a root cellar. So like, you know, just with a few little things built like that, even if it's not to the scale of these guys, because they did a root cellar that's like 14 feet in diameter, and like 10 feet deep. So like it's really, really, you know, huge. Like that would take care of a family and the neighbors all around for, you know, a couple of years if you got it fully stocked. So I'm thinking of something about half that size, maybe like, you know, a little more, maybe like 3/5 of that size would be perfect out there. And since you're not building it with traditional materials, like the county that we're in is a little bit more lenient when it comes to alternative style, like buildings, like not for the domiciles that you're going to live in, but as far as like outbuildings, they don't seem to give a flying hoot. And so I'm going to, definitely take advantage of that, and take a note out of their book, and really like I said, reconsider the rainwater harvesting. I was really skeptical of that because we only get like, you know, anywhere from 11 to maybe 20 inches of precipitation in a year, and it's pretty much all during, you know, July, like late June into early August type deal. And I wouldn't think that would last. But then again, if you build a big enough cistern, really, I don't know. We'll have to do a cost analysis on that versus a well, because a well would be great, but if you can get it from the rain, then, you know, and we already have tanks there we don't even need to build a cistern. We already have poly tanks there. We could just cover them up if they start to get too hot. And they have a whole lot of awesome information on how to, like, you know, take those poly tanks and, you know, just create your own version of something to turn it into a garden hose with pressure, like really simple things like that. Also, their channel also had a signal booster that works really well for out in Arizona desert. So something that would really solve a huge problem for me, Nicholas, and Will, as far as, you know, not being able to get signal and having to drive, you know, anywhere from a half an hour to an hour into town to talk to you guys is really expensive. It's really made me consider, like, you know, that's why I'm not participating in dojos on a regular basis. Like, and I asked for some help as far as moderating mine, because it's highly caloric. It's a lot to go there, a lot to spend that time. And then, as we all know, if you come to a dojo, you're not just thinking about the dojo during the dojo. Like, you're thinking about it for the rest of that day. And it really, right now, with all the projects that we're going to have ahead of us, I kind of do need a clear headspace to problem solve on all that. So, I'm just renewed and really looking forward to this. And I'm glad to hear you share about the rabbit. I only had a rabbit when I was like 13. And it was an indoor rabbit, and it was a pet like that, but we always kept him locked up. He didn't seem anywhere near as friendly as yours. Is that just a lot of handling, like you letting him roam free and touching him a lot?
Well, it is. And also where he used to be, he was picked up a lot. And I found out they don't really like to be picked up. So, and they would chase him to pick him up. So I have actually, I can pick him up from the ground onto my lap. He's fine with that. But once I try to put him in my arms, he just struggles. So because it's just him and I, and there's no young kids, there's no dog, which is what he used to live with, big dog. He's really cooled out, and he's happy to be loved and free. Like I said, he's never let that. Has my furniture suffered? Oh yeah. Has my carpet suffered? Oh yeah. But these are just things, right? And there
Yeah.
are ways to try and keep them. You put packing tape on your wood. It kind of works. The carpet used to be in my yoga studio. I still do my yoga on it. I just bless it. And it used to be like, oh, I love this carpet. It's a wool carpet. And now he's just taught me it's just a thing. It's just
Yeah.
a thing. And he's not a thing, so.
That's the exact conversation kind of thing I was having with my sister, who's, I don't know how much I've gone into it here in the dojos, but my sister and her husband have a property preservation and like landscaping contracting company, and they have like 5 trucks, like including a dolly and a lot of big ones and a lot of trailers and a lot of equipment and all this stuff. And with him laid up in a hospital and going to have to be learning to walk again, I kind of had that conversation of these are all just things. And like, she was talking about how she needs to get a job to maintain income because she's running 1 truck now. She said she had to because, she needs to keep some money coming in until she gets a job. And I was like, if it were me, I would start selling some of these assets you have around here. Like, no offense, but like, you're going to have a year where like, at least a year where he's not going to be able to do any of the stuff that he normally would be able to go out and do, and won't be able to, run out and coordinate and solve problems for 5 crews. Like, he's going to have just enough trouble learning how to walk again and, learning to eat right. So he doesn't end up back in the hospital and sick over something that, really should be like a 1 or 2 day affair for a healthy person. It's really, you need to start looking at these things as exactly what they are, things. And those are a means to, if you can provide and keep your roof over your head and groceries in your house and a place for my grandmother to have to stay, like that's the most important thing, not whether or not you still have that business. Because like, yeah, we've all had to come to that. I think everybody in the dojo or in this group has all kind of come to realize that in their own way in smaller doses here and there. And I'm really just, it's honestly making me consider like throwing half of the stuff I brought out here to area, like to Colorado away, and be like, I don't even have a place, to store it out there. Like if I build up a place to store it, even if I do, like really, I'm going to have so much to do on my hands as far as working outside with the land that I'm not going to have time to sit there and be a bookworm. I might be able to read for like an hour a night or something like that if I really like focus on it and put calories into it. But even then, like I feel like that time could be better spent like watching and learning from people that are doing these amazing projects online and talking to you guys here on Dojoearth if we get our internet situation squared away, which I don't know if anybody's heard of it. I'll throw it out there. It's called a Ryoko mobile Wi-Fi unit, and it's literally just like the size of a phone basically, and it comes with a SIM card already loaded in it. It's like $89. It's normally more, but it's on sale according to their sale tactics. But they advertise it working from everywhere in the desert in China to like the tropical forests of Peru, and like so I would imagine the Arizona desert really isn't that much more remote than either of those. So I'm waiting to see if they can ship it to a PO box, because I don't have an address there in Arizona. I'm like, you guys ship to PO boxes? Because if you do, we can get it shipped. But as far as like an address, that's like, you would think though, if they're selling something that's a solution for people that are off grid and doing stuff like that, they would accommodate by offering shipping to a PO box. But I'm not going to order it and then find out after. No, I'm not going to give you that money ahead of time unless I know for certain. No, okay, never mind. It said
Have you met any of your neighbors yet, Jeremy?
So yeah, in last time I was there, since I was out east these last 2 weeks, I don't know if they've met any more, but yes, we have met. So on our property, we're kind of in this like unique little spot where on to the south and the east of us is a big ridge line. It's probably a couple 100 feet in elevation. And up on the top of that, well, right at the base of the ridge line on the one side is another person's property, Mike. I did not get to meet him, but I was told about him by our other neighbors, that he's a really good guy. His house or homestead looks like its own little village. He's got like natural wood fencing from the wood around the area that he's built all the way around his property, an RV in there, a couple of big, not big, but like I think they're the 2660 water tanks up there, and a nice little, you know, tilled area in his backyard, which I think we're going to try and stay away from tilling as much as possible. I'm thinking I'm going to do more like building up mounds, like, and using the suggestions of Jane for straw bales. I'm going to just lay those out to slow and catch water, and then probably top them with some topsoil. And I'm even thinking about that Green Dream project. They use clay, what they call clay pot irrigation, and I'm not super familiar with that, but it looks like they just had two clay pots like stuck one on top of the other. And I guess that goes down into the ground, and you fill up that clay pot. So as the soil, or that like two clay pots put together, you fill that up with water, and it's kind of like those things, the bulbs that you can put in the ground filled with water that slowly leach it as it, you know, as the water dries out in the soil there, it'll slowly come out of those clay pots and come down in the ground and, you know, slow feed it. But yeah, Johnny, my man, good to see you, my friend. Looking awesome with the sunglasses there. How's your day so far, my friend?
Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks for getting the ball rolling here while I was a little late. Yeah, I'm gonna have to wear these shades. I had some issues with the contact in the one eye, so I look like it's all bloodshot, so I don't want to freak people out. So
what weird sync, man. This morning when I woke up and looked at my contact, I guess it would be my right eye, it kept bugging me for like 10 minutes straight, and then I was like trying to adjust it and I lost it. And so I had the same kind of issue this morning. No shades though. Even though I live out in the sunny area, like I've never been a big fan of shades. Like I'll just wear a hat.
yeah, you wear hats well, man. Was your trip pretty good out east? So flights were good?
Yeah, the flights were okay. You know, I unfortunately had to do that thing that I did not want to do, but you know, it was for a purpose that I was willing to bite the bullet on it. That's really the only reason I would do that, is to see a dying family member, like, you know, in a drastic situation. You know, they went smoothly though, other than the first day when I tried to fly out, and like the lady that was at the ticketing station didn't check my boarding pass to see that I had no carry-on. Like she assumed the duffel bag I was carrying was a carry-on when it was a check bag. Like she didn't take it from me. And so I got all the way to the gate and told the like hostess lady that was letting everyone onto the plane. And she was like, "Oh, you don't have a carry-on on your boarding pass." I'm like, "No, this is a check bag." She's like, "You should have gave that to them at the ticketing station." I was like, "Nobody told me that." Like, she just rushed me through there, and she's like, "You're going to have to go back there and take it to them." And I walked back past security and got up to the ticketing station, and she was like, "I don't know why that woman never, like, why she sent you back here. You're never going to make it back through security in time. Like, she should have sent you to customer care, which was like 50 yards the opposite way, and they would have like expedited and got your bag on the plane and got you out." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know any of this. I haven't flown since I was 17. Like, I really don't like planes." Like, but you know, other than that, it was a good experience, both flights. Like, was able to put on the mask just to like get on the plane, and then once I got on, like, use Dave Weiss's trick of keeping an open bottle of water and a bag of like trail mix and just sitting there eating a few at a time, and nobody gave a hoot. So that was, you know, really good to get to see my grandmother before the end. I hope that's not soon, but you know, I had really good long talks with her, and really the best thing was getting to talk to my nephews and really understand a little bit more about why one of my nephews didn't come out to homestead with me in Arizona, because me and him were looking for land in Delaware. He wanted to, you know, homestead and do this kind of thing with me there. And when I got the opportunity to come out west and I took it, he would just all of a sudden shied away. And there was some factors at play I had never taken into account before, in that my younger nephew, that's been with my my aunt, that's not like, she's like super hard Biden supporter, full blown Democrat, wouldn't let us come to Christmas if we didn't put masks on in the house. Like, and she's super controlling. And she has my other nephew, Aiden, who is 17 right now. He's like a few months away from being 18. And the reason my nephew Dylan didn't want to move away is because now that he's got this job as a FedEx driver making like good money, he wants to get his own place so that when Aiden turns 18, he can come and live with him, and provide a space for him that's not with a, you know, control freak that's like super hard left. Which I'm like, damn, I respect the fuck out of that. I wish you had said something about that. Like, and he's like, I was torn. Like, I wanted to come with you, but at the same time, like, I want to be here for him, even if he doesn't end up coming to stay with me. Like, he says he wants to, and he hates the house, and he's like depressed and just can't, you know, hates dealing with it. You know, I just want to give him that space if he needs it. I'm like, more power to you, man. That's a beautiful thing to be there, you know, for your younger, it's his younger brother, and he hasn't gotten to really see him but a handful of times over the last, you know, 6 years, but they stay in contact through Instagram. And so he's, you know, I gave him my blessing on that, you know, told him one day, if you ever do, you can both come out, but until then, best of luck. But don't mean to ramble about my trip. I know we've taken up a lot of time on this about my trip, but I appreciate you all. I know you all are not just here.
Yeah, it's gonna be a short one today. I've had some unexpected company. My in-laws, well, they're always welcome here, but also my wife's oldest daughter and her boyfriend. So they live about an hour and a half away, so they came for a visit. But yeah, apparently we're having dinner at 3:30, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" But it was pretty good schnitzel. But yeah, I'm not used to eating at 3:30, so it was just, anyways. All right. So what I wanted to touch on today is this episode of Escape from Babylon is livestock, and we all have dreams. You know, some of us have dreams of like horses, cows, the whole shebang, alpacas. But if I can tell everyone, the first thing you start with is chickens. Chickens all the way. We started with ours while we still had our house listed in the suburbs. I built a chicken tractor for them. I bought them as hatchlings, 1-day-old hatchlings. That's usually how you buy them. And within 3 to 4 months, they start laying eggs. That's if you get the laying birds. Meat birds are a different scenario. I haven't gone into meat birds yet. I'm thinking of doing that sometime soon, maybe in the next week. So there's that. I'm going to try to share my screen. I don't know if I'm host or what. Can you make me co-host so I can share the screen?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and work on that for you right now.
Okay.
You just need to right click it.
And then, yeah. So we have what's called Red Sex Link, which is a mix of Rhode Island Reds and White Leghorns. And they're very good layers for eggs. So I'm going to try to show, perfect. I'm going to try to show a video. I don't know if the audio is going to play. I took a video of the chicken coop, and just to make it easier, because I don't want to, if company's over, I don't want to be running around live. So 1 sec. All right, can you guys see this? Yeah. All right, so all right. Did you guys hear me when I was talking while the video was playing?
No.
Okay,
No,
okay. That's fine. That's fine. So yeah, that was the outside of the coop. They have a little trap door where I open it up, and every morning they go out, and they're smart enough to know to go back into the coop at night. And that's just to keep the immediate predators away. And on nice days, we let them out into the field and the creek, and they love to forage through the forest even. And they're easy to corral. They don't run away. usually if you get one of them back in the coop, they all want to go back in. So they're very docile. Now I'm going to show you the inside of the coop next. And yeah, sorry, there won't be audio while I do this.
All good.
All right. So what you saw there,
Wow.
yeah, that was,
Man, that's awesome.
now there was a little storage shed, basically for an ATV size shed, which we retrofitted into a coop rather than build a coop from scratch. Now it's big enough, it can probably hold 40 chickens, so it's a little bit overkill. You can go much smaller we have 16 birds right now, so they're living the life. And all we did was put a few well-placed branches. They like to, especially for nighttime, they like to sit up higher up on branches. If you get wider branches, it's better so their legs or their claws don't freeze in the winter. And if you noticed, I used milk crates. I cut off one side from them and then screwed them into the wall, add a bit of hay. And they learned by themselves to go in there, and it's perfect for, you know, they have their favorite spots where they want to lay eggs. So definitely that's a very quick and easy way to make as many nest boxes. Sometimes they only use one, so there's 16 eggs in one, so it's kind of weird how they do that. And yeah, and then just get one of the watering canisters that you can get ones that are heated, so it automatically kicks in the heating element if it's cold, and it lasts about 3-4 days. And same with that carousel for the food, it automatically dispenses it as they eat it. They're not, at least the breed I have, they won't overeat. I think with meat birds, you have to be careful. They can overheat, but laying chickens, they regulate themselves. And then we give them some fresh veggie clippings each day and stuff like that, throw it outside. Now, I started to get wild turkeys visiting right beside my chicken coop. So every morning I'm feeding my chickens as well as about 4 to 5 wild turkeys. So getting a good relationship with them. And yeah, that's yeah, go ahead.
They look really well fed. They really
Yeah.
look good. I've seen a lot of chickens of friends and whatnot. They just look really well fed and healthy. Do they lay more eggs when it gets warmer?
They tell, yeah, good question. They told me that they lay less during the winter time, but you can up their production if you have artificial light in there up until 8 o'clock at night or 9 o'clock at night. But I was shutting off the light in the evening as soon as it started.
Wait, so when you say artificial light, are you just talking about like a standard bulb, just keeping the light on?
just a light bulb, because it'll mess up their system. They'll think it's still daytime longer,
Okay.
but you will actually, the way I've heard it is chickens have a finite number of eggs that they can lay in their lifetime. So if you crank up their production in the winter, they're not gonna lay as long as if you let nature run its course. So we were down to, mind you, we had 6 younger chickens that we got in like December, so they didn't start laying till February. So, but once they did start to lay, and it was still like beginning of March, so it was still cold. We were getting about 11 or 12 eggs a day out of 16 chickens. But now that it's warmer, we're getting 14 to 16 every single day. And there's a couple of them, at least 2 a week, we have a double yolkers. And these eggs, they're basically massive. I should put a picture up on Dojoearth comparison. I can't believe it's from the same chicken, but it basically looks like a goose egg. It's just massive, and there's 2 yolks in it. And we don't have any roosters. With roosters, obviously, they'll, impregnate or inseminate the hens. So you're gonna get the odd time like a bit of blood inside the eggs, which is supposed to be healthy, but and then if you put it aside, obviously that's how you get your new hatchlings. But we don't have a rooster, and if we do get a rooster, we'll only breed them with the Rhode Island Reds. It's better to stick to heritage breeds, not hybrids that are already mixed.
Yeah,
Like
I've heard
the
that
Reds,
from
yeah.
several people anecdotally, that mixing breed, like they're already so mixed up from the hatcheries a lot of the time that you try and cross them and you're just going to end up with a lot of deaths early on and genetic defects. So that's something I was actually going to ask about that, but you touched on it. And so what exactly are the kind that you have right there? Or are there several kinds?
I have 10. They're called red sex link, and the reason they're called that, they're very easy to determine if it's male or female right at birth, based on their coloring. So I think there's also black sex link and red sex link. And the red sex link is a mix of the Rhode Island Reds mixed with a white leghorn. I forget which one the rooster is, but there's a certain combination. And it makes it very easy for the hatcheries. They're very good for eggs. They live about 2 to 3 years. Whereas the heritage breeds, we have 6 of them, Rhode Island Reds. They take a lot longer to start laying. Like it took them almost 5 months, but they live 5 to 7 years. And they are bigger birds, and they're more cold weather. So I'm looking to find a Rhode Island Red rooster and just have a hatchery with the 6 that are the purebreds, and just keep them separate, and then we'll know which ones are going to be hatched, and we're going to stick to that breed. So
Can I jump in here for a second? I've raised hens myself, and when you bring a rooster into the picture, your hens will not be as, it's like being raped. The way the roosters attack the hens, the feathers are going, and they're not nearly as happy as when there's no rooster around, because I've had both. Just to remind you that, unless you are doing a hatchery, those are some very happy, healthy females you got there. And they do live a long time. I had one that lasted till she was 8 years old. And didn't she give an egg just before she died? And it was like, so they are amazing, especially if you love them and play with them and give them a good compost heap. If you get your compost going, because I've always worried about the feed I used to have to feed them. And it's not, it's not organic, it's GMO. So you're just continuing so if you can create a good compost heap, either in their coop or near their coop where they can run during the day, there's a lot better feed there for them.
yeah, we're going to make a secondary run, just like a small fencing. There's a creek with leaves and everything. We let them go there, and they love it. They start pecking away at the leaves, getting all the bugs they can find. But yeah, wintertime, they kind of have to survive off the feed, which is a little unfortunate. So, but yeah, I mean, it is the nature of it. Like we plan on letting them free range once we have a little area for them to run to.
Yeah, actually free range, not the definition of free range according to USDA standards, which is they have to have an open door for 51% of the time, even if that door is 10 feet up and they can't get to it. Like that's still technically a free range chicken. So ridiculous. But I was actually going to touch on that too, Elizabeth, with like, I was wondering if that's why they looked so good, because the people that I've known with chickens usually have a rooster, and the roosters do rough them up. And like, the only like, I mean, not, you get more chicks from having a rooster. Obviously you can breed them, but also, you know, occasionally a rooster might be known to lay down his life in case of a predatory situation. So if you have, you know, do you have a lot of predators there to worry about, or not so much because of the, you
I
know, thing going
I
on at your
saw I saw a small fox checking out the coop when we first got it set up. Haven't seen any evidence all winter long of any tracks or whatever, because we have 3 Great Pyrenees close by and they're continuous barking. I don't know if you can hear it in the distance now, but they keep the most predators at bay.
Beware of
that's what I
hawks
figured.
and eagles. 'Cause
Yeah, I figured with the dogs around, that was going to be, yeah, big deterrent for them. My actually, while I was back east, talking to my grandmother, asking her about like an old photo I'd found and see if she'd known what it was. My Aunt Evelyn from Vermont called. She's not too far off of a climate like you. She lives up north of Montpelier, and her guineas were making a ruckus like 3 nights in a row every night, and she couldn't, you know, she didn't know what it was. She went out to check it out 2 nights in a row. Third night she went out, and so all of the guineas were on one side of the fence, just like looking up this hill that leads to one of her sheds. And she examined the shed a little closer and found 4 little fox pups, but no mama or anything. You know, so she realized that it was probably the mama coming and going that the guineas were freaking out about, or the, you know, the little pups making their noises that was freaking the guineas out. But yeah, then the next day she went out, and out behind that shed, she actually got a photo. I don't have it, or otherwise I'd share it, but of the mama fox like coming up and crawling underneath her shed out there. So definitely something to be wary of. And I don't know if you've got eagles around there or just hawks, but that's the only other thing that
Seen half of the outside coop is covered with mesh, but I'm kind of procrastinating on this. I want to put up a rainproof shelter for the other half, which I haven't done yet. But they haven't tried to fly out, and we haven't had. There's some big trees around the coop, and when we let them go out, we stay close by and we urge them to go into the forest part, more so for that.
cover. Yeah.
And the coop is built like Fort Knox. I kind of overdid it on that one, and we put center blocks all around, so it prevents diggers from getting into it. And if you saw in the video of the coop, there's a tire in there. That's with sand, ashes, and diatomaceous earth, so something like that. About 40, yeah, 40, 40, 20 ratio. And the chickens love it. They go to it and they do dust baths, and it helps keep them from having pests on them.
Parasites off of them, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I also was gonna say something about that. I was telling everyone else before you got here about some people I found on YouTube, Green Dream Project, that they have a homestead they started like last year in the Arizona desert, very similar climate to us. And the lady put like I really recommend watching. She did like a 12-minute video, the wife, about the truth about starting a permaculture garden in the Arizona desert. And, you know, it was like basically a buildup of like, she went out there thinking she was just going to have this perfect like garden, you know, that's idyllic and like nothing ever went wrong in it. And it was going to be just, you know, she's going to be able to design this perfect system where like it would maintain itself. She just have to keep, you know, the water flowing into the cistern and that'd be it. And she talked about how like when the rainy season came, and almost, you know, over half of her crops, like in some way, shape, or form, developed like wilted leaves, some type of blight, some type of insects, like really, really bad aphids, caterpillars, crickets, stuff like that. And talked about how, you know, she had to give up on the idea of having everything like perfect and idyllic. And one day was just sitting there and saw, you know, in a pool in the desert in Arizona, anytime it rains, there's tadpoles that just pop up in the pools everywhere. And so she dug a little pond in the center of her garden where some crop she had died. And so she's like, you know what, I'm going to dig a pond and put the tadpoles in there. And without realizing it, she solved her aphid problem because she put a bunch of tadpoles in a pond in the middle of her garden. And so the tadpoles and toads all come up and eat the aphids. And she let her, you know, chickens into the garden every now and then to get the caterpillars. And so systems like that, I feel like they're so ancient that like nobody came up with them. They're just fucking perfect. Like it's and I'm sure that once you get your garden rolling up in there, your chickens are going to be, you got to protect some of the plants while they're young, but at the same time, if you ever have an infestation issue, because when you create fertile land with a bunch of really healthy plants, bugs are going to come because it's a food source for them. And so I think your really healthy ladies there will definitely be of a huge assistance to you. And you said that sometimes all of them lay in the same basket. Have you noticed which chickens lay the double yolk eggs? Because I've gotten those from the grocery store before. Like sometimes, like one time I got like a dozen that had like 6 of them in there, and I was like, "What in the world? Like this like you said, it's like a goose egg." And so if you could find the chickens that do that, like those are. I know people that'll pay extra money for double yolk eggs. Like they're a treat. Johnny's frozen on me. Yep, I think he disconnected.
Yeah, okay, I'm back. Okay. All right. Well, that's one of the perks of living in the boonies, as people say. Sometimes there's a price to pay, but it's a small price. We haven't streamed Netflix or Amazon Prime since we moved here because it literally can't. So that's good. But yeah, about guineas. Yeah.
Real quick, this might be dangerous to suggest because you might start, or somebody in the house might start streaming it. But I was just letting the other people know. One of the other things I found on that Green Dream project was a recommendation for something called a Ryoko mobile Wi-Fi device, and it basically is like $89. You order it, comes loaded with a SIM card, and like you can press it anywhere, and it gives you like usually 4, sometimes 5 bars of 4G connection. So it could, possibly solve, and they advertise working anywhere from the desert in China to the Peruvian like rainforest. So it might be something to look into for only $89. I think I'm gonna order it and give it a shot, as long as they'll ship to a PO box.
Yeah, the advantage, like I'm kind of in the cottage country, so all the rich yuppies from Toronto, there's a few properties just north of me for sale, which I saw, that are like 5.5 million, and another one's like 3.8 million. So there is a lot of push to get better internet here. So they did call me and say they're rolling out close to me, but it's not at the house yet, with some radio towers with enhanced 4G. So we'll see. But yeah, for guineas, funny you should say that. Like they are kind of complementary to chickens, and they scream and screech as soon as predators are nearby. And I thought I wanted some until I went to see my parents. They started up a homestead a few months before me. They're about 2 hours away, and they have 15 chickens, 5 guineas, a couple of ducks, a couple of geese. So they're going all out with the aviary. And they're the ones who got the rabbits, which I'm going to talk about briefly. And so I got a couple of rabbits from them. And I went to see them, and the guineas, no, it's bad enough with dogs barking. I don't need guineas on this property. I mean, they have their use,
but from the noise pollution, but and you don't
yeah,
want to put it back.
They're horrible sound. Like I don't want it. It's good. So, but yeah. And if we get a rooster, we are thinking of keeping him separate, and then just or even borrow from a local person a rooster. They do this too, just for a month or so. So yeah, I've seen my parents have a rooster, and I've seen the state of their chickens. So thanks, Elizabeth. I know what you're talking about.
Johnny, have you ever? I'm going to use a nice word for it. Have you ever processed chickens or rabbits? See, that's the part I would never be able to do. Just, I don't see how I could. And I know there are people that may come and do it for you, but obviously you have to either barter or pay them. But that would be a very hard thing for me if you did end up, or would be for me. I hope it's not for you, but
That is a good question, and I am on the fence. I'm about 80% sure to get about 20 meat birds. They're ready in about 12 weeks. If you don't kill them, they die of heart attacks. That's the breed, the genetic breed they are, and the feeding schedule you give them. If you alter their feeding schedule, you can make them live 2 to 3 years. But most people, they put them on a certain food schedule and they're ready in 12 weeks. I think I can do chickens. With rabbits, I don't know. And losing that litter of rabbits kind of put things in perspective of whether or not I should be going down the rabbit path. But yeah, that's a very good question. But I think I'm mentally ready for meat birds, as long as my kids don't name them, because my kids, they're partial to the rabbits, and they love the goats, which I'm going to speak of shortly. So I'll never kill a goat ever. But chickens, I think I can. So I mean, if
that's the most important part, don't name them. Like, just, there is a magic in a name that causes attachment. Like, you got Thumper there, Elizabeth, and no, hell or high water wouldn't cause you to, ever get him butchered. Like, it's just,
there is a way around that I learned from a friend who was able. And what they did is they named them Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, whatever, so that there was a preparatory, but I still couldn't do it. But that is, if you're going to name them for the meal they're going to be.
yeah.
And for the meat, like, where if there is shutdowns of the food supply down the road, I could survive without meat. I don't want to call myself a vegetarian. I like meat, but my body doesn't need it. But my wife, on the other hand, and a couple of my kids, like they literally go bonkers if they don't have meat. So I don't know if it's a blood type thing or what. So I kind of have just as a backup plan, And
not that I'm gonna contradict you, because I feel similar. For about 2 weeks I can go without meat, and it doesn't really affect me too much. But then I usually end up eating eggs. So like I would possibly go vegetarian, but I really find a hard time struggling with the whole full vegan thing. However, I did find Clive DeCarle's vegan essential amino acids. Those did work for me to push back past 2 weeks, where if I take those, he uses a bunch of fermented vegetable products to create amino acids in the right ratio that you would normally get from eating meat. And so taking those on an empty stomach in the morning, I can go way longer than 2 weeks just eating vegetarian or even vegan style. So just information for anybody out there that's considering that path. Like, I don't consider it a moral thing, just because plants are living too. I've always thought it was kind of weird that we just draw the line at like, you're gonna kill it. Yeah, you killed that plant when you ate it too. Like you did that too. And like all the combine harvesters and stuff that we that we use to harvest those vegetables.
Yeah, that carrot was perfectly living its best life when it got ripped out of the ground and diced up. So
and you never even let it reproduce and go to flower and seed. So you all get.
Yeah, good point. But go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we do live in a reciprocal feeding kind of a situation here. So philosophically, you can look at it that way, whatever you decide to do.
And you can always do what Elizabeth suggested and outsource it. My parents have about 14 rabbits, And the reason I was considering getting into rabbits, they're prolific breeders, and one breeding pair, I think it's one breeding pair or two females, one male, can make over 100 pounds of meat for a family. And it is what sustained a lot of people during the Great Depression, according to the history books. So it's a good backup plan. They're very easy to process, but like my parents have 14 of them, and they plan on raising kits over and over. And I've been there 2 weeks ago, and they had rabbits too, and it's just fantastic. And it basically tastes like chicken. You have to not look at the processing though, but it's a fantastic meat source. And they are very low maintenance animals. So the next video I'm going to show you, it's gonna be I got 2 rabbits from my parents because we were thinking of getting eventually females. So he said they were 2 males, and we were thinking of getting females eventually from a different litter. So setting up a whole rabbitry. The kids named them already. So usually your breeding pair you keep for several years, 5 to 7 years, and it's the babies that after I think I forget if it's 10 weeks or 8 weeks, that's when they get processed, and they can have 2 pregnancies back to back. So rabbits are just never-ending litters. But we had the 2 rabbits, and we split the box 50-50. We didn't have a nesting box and we always thought it was weird that the one rabbit kept humping the other rabbit. So we've heard that there was, it happens sometimes if there's 2 males, they're frisky. But yeah, I think I mentioned in the dojo earlier this week, I went there at night to check on it, and there was 7 dead baby rabbits there in the cage. So we didn't even realize that the one was female, that she was pregnant. Like, you couldn't even tell. My wife did say after the fact that she did feel a bit heavier, but because it was her first litter, she didn't do any of the signs of nesting, pulling the hair out, packing the straw into a corner, stuff like that. So I had to bury the 7 little rabbits, and I don't know if it's a wake-up call to rethink it, or I don't know. It's still an image.
You have at least one male.
Yeah.
And just a question, because my one of the ladies asked me earlier if I had met any of my neighbors, and one of the neighbors that I met was Corey, lives catty corner from us in Arizona, and he bought a bunch of laying hens or chicks last year, and they have like, I want to say 24. They got like 25, and like 1 died. And he was saying that the person that he bought the chicks from said that a lot of the times that the certain breeds don't understand how to nest without being shown by an adult. So you said yours just figured it out, like you just set those up and they went right in there. Is that like a breed thing or individual like that?
Well, we didn't even have the coop when they started to lay. We were still in the suburbs, and then we found an egg on the grass, and then another one, and they kind of just dug a hole and laid it there. So we kind of found the sign when they're, they make a lot of noise when they're getting ready to lay. So we would put them in boxes, and they started to, but yeah, all of ours got used to it. And I think as long as they see other hens laying, then they kind of figure it out. So that's what the 6 younger ones did. They kind of followed. But yeah, we did have to manually put them inside the milk crates a couple of times before they started laying there. It wasn't just you go in and there's 20 eggs in 1 crate. That was
okay. Cool. Yeah, that answers the question completely, because I wasn't sure if you literally just had to pick them up and put them in there to kind of like.
But I haven't heard of having roosters show them. I think it's as when one figures it out, the others start copying, I think. So I'm gonna just show you a quick video of the rabbits. And if we do get into processing rabbits for meat supplements for the family, it would be if things start going really south with food sources around us. So far, it's still good. And I talked about it with the wife. We're going to get a different pair of rabbits that are, what's the nice word? Uglier. So there's other breeds, because we have I think the California or New Zealand. I think they're the California ones. And I don't know if you guys hear me. Am I cutting out again?
You cut out for a little bit, but you're fine.
Okay, so we have the California ones, and I don't know who thought of making this as a meat rabbit. They're some of the cutest rabbits you can possibly get. So I'm gonna show you a video of it, and I don't think I could process these. So one sec. All right, you guys see that? So what we did, we adjusted the divider and gave more room for the female. But yeah, we just built it with leftover plywood and meshing, and all the poo falls on the straw that's underneath the box, and we plan on using the rabbit for fertilizer, like the excrements. But yeah, it's pretty windy, and some of these trees are swaying. So if you see a branch come down, holy, okay.
Yeah, pray that doesn't happen to you, man, because that's the one thing out like that you do have to worry about. Like,
Yeah,
branch falls,
so
you gotta tread on it.
yeah, so you guys can see that's the one with the darker marking is the California. It's called California rabbits. I mean, there's ugly ones out there, so if you do plan on getting the rabbits, maybe stick to the uglier ones. So that's one little tip. But I don't have really much feedback on rabbits, other than they're very hard to tell what's a male and what's a female, as I found out. And my dad, who's had rabbits growing up in the Czech Republic, and he's comfortable processing them. He said that he would come home from school. He was in grade school, and he was hungry, and he would say, what's for dinner? And the mom would say, go get a rabbit from the back. And then he would go clean it, bring it over, and that's dinner. So, I mean, it is in our ancestry. It is in our DNA. So, I mean, we're not there yet, though. I mean, as long as grocery stores are open, I don't think I'm going to go down that route unless we get some ugly rabbits. So, but if anyone has questions about rabbits or wants to jump in, please go ahead.
I don't think there's any such thing as an ugly rabbit, but good luck with that. Hopefully you find some.
I think, I mean, I could see what you mean, that the California one with the darker spot on him was definitely a little cuter than the others, but I still, I don't know. I don't know if it would make it any easier for me for it to be ugly. You know what I mean? Like, I have heard that though that they are very, very easy to skin. I've never done it myself, but that literally you just kind of cut it around the feet and then pull, and it just all comes right off. And I know that's kind of gruesome, but you know,
way easier than chickens. That's what I heard. Way easier than chickens. So.
Oh yeah, like boiling and plucking the feathers. Yeah, that's a chore and a half right there.
Rabbits scream when they're hurt or when they're very scared. I have not heard my rabbit.
Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that.
Yeah.
Well, you just so you know, they scream like a child. I've been told that now. I've never heard mine because I haven't put through any stress, but
yeah, the one who ended up being a female, when I was picking up the dead litter from her cage, she made a sound that just tugged at me so bad. Like she didn't want to part with them. If we left them there, they will eat the young. So we didn't want that. But yeah, she made a sound I've never heard a rabbit make before. So, but yeah.
I've only ever heard the scream of like little bunny rabbits when like landscaping was like, you scared some of them with the lawnmower. Thankfully, I've never seen one die from it. I'm sure that's probably happened and I haven't noticed, but definitely very blood curdling scream that bunny rabbits make. The only thing that even comes close as far as calls I've heard, which, I don't know if that's something that homesteaders ever really get into, but peacocks. Peacocks make the craziest blood curdling scream that sounds like somebody killing a cat. Like it's really, really disturbing. So yeah, if you ever ever got into peacocks, like you would want to be aware of that noise pollution. They're beautiful, but good God, do they sound like horrifying.
Thanks. That's a good tip. So the next two videos I'm going to show you is our latest edition, which I drove 2 hours north of us to North Bay. And yesterday was a cold snap. And so I actually drove through a blizzard. It was pretty rough drive. And I took two of my kids and they held the goats. So there was a listing on Kijiji, which is kind of like Craigslist or in Canada here. I don't know if you guys have it in the States. And it's beautiful how many postings lately there are for rabbits, chickens, roosters, goats. Just it shows you maybe the world is starting to change. So, but yeah, we picked them up, I think, for just over $1,000, 5 goats, and 2 moms and 3 babies, and they're still milking. So we can wean them off. The one we can wean off pretty soon. The other one we got to wait about 2-3 weeks. And my wife's eager to start milking them. So it's gonna be good. We got the goats mostly to keep our dogs busy because they're bored. They're livestock guardians, and not for meat. But we out of the babies, the black one is a female, so we're keeping that one for sure. The other 2 are males, which they're so adorable right now. So my kids want to keep them, but when they got ugly, I think I will list them for sale. And I don't know. Yeah.
There's a huge difference between a little baby billy goat and a full grown one, and the cuteness, it still kind of stays with them. Their attitude is no longer cute.
Yeah.
Unless they're with them every day, and like even then they kind of start treating you like another goat and want to like butt heads with you, and they're bunctious. And they also are like, they really can be a challenge in like keeping understory. If you don't graze them properly, like goats will just eat everything up. So definitely want to be careful with how you pasture them. But I'm sure you're well aware of that. I appreciate your posts about like showing under the red pine. I thought that was a beautiful demonstration of what like artificially planting one type of tree like blanketed in the middle of the forest can just do to decimate an understory and soil quality.
Yeah. So let me just show you the videos of them. There we go.
Wow.
But yeah, adorable, all of them. And the fact that we have 2 milking goats right away we don't have to wait for them to get, you know, you usually have to wait for them to have a baby and then you wean them off. They're just right at the right stage. And what it is, these people, they live out in the country. They have a partial homestead. They have some chickens, but the lady just lost her job and she ended up getting a job that involves a lot of traveling. So they can't maintain the goats anymore. So
Yeah.
one person's loss is another person's gain. So just
Definitely a gain for you to have 2 milking goats right away, and it's a beautiful thing. But I was just discussing that with one of my family member, or my aunt that I was talking about. She said that that's the reason she got rid of goats, is because you have to be married to milking them if you want to keep them in milk. You aren't going anywhere. Like, you got to go milk them twice a day, and you know, stay with it. And I'm sure you're probably getting up on these things as you're getting into goats, but definitely the old bucket trick where you take a couple of baby bottles and put the nipples in the bottom, really convenient for you getting the milk you need and the baby still getting the milk they need while you wean them off. So, and you know, if you need to medicate them.
yeah, for the black goat, that one's 8 weeks old, and it's the little girl, the black one. She's starting to eat solids, so she can be weaned off, but she's still breastfeeding from the mom. So we're gonna see how much milk. We're gonna start milking that one first. We'd like to keep both goats, but if it's too much, if we have like 10 liters of milk within a week, my parents are more than eager to take the beige milking goat, and they said they can keep the 2 boys and process them later when they're old. And I'm like, don't tell me this. They're just too cute right now. So
Just
I'd
tell me
rather,
what's on Canadian Craigslist.
yeah, exactly. I'd rather sell them for fiat. So that's, I don't know. I never liked goat meat, so I'm not worried about that. I mean, if I get sheep, I love lamb. So that,
Yeah,
but
same boat as you there. I would definitely have a hard time processing goats, not just because I don't really care for their meat, but just because they're so cute and like dog-like. I don't know how else to put it, but they're just very, very amicable creatures that it's just easy to develop a bond with. We had 2 pygmy goats when I was younger, and they were like best friends of the dogs, best friends of the kids. Like, they're awesome.
yeah. And to have 2 milking pygmy goats right away, and the one girl who will grow up to become a milking goat herself, like, that's a lot of cheese. That's a lot of milk. So
A lot of cheese, a lot
we're
of ketchup, a lot of, yeah, a lot
yeah.
of milk. You know, you better start making soap at that point.
I know. So, and like I said, we'll keep the male goats until the kids no longer find them cute. And then they'll find a home. People are buying them for mating all the time. So that's where I'm at. Now I got to build a fence. So but the goats kind of just follow you along. They don't run away. So, you know, we have time to build the fence, take our time, and then build a sawmill. And then, geez, I need some more hours in the day. So, all right, guys.
Oh,
Any questions from anyone, or are we going to wrap this up soon? Up to you guys.
I'm just grateful for what I'm learning from you, Johnny. I don't wish I wasn't in Nova Scotia, but I wish you were doing this in Nova Scotia, put it that way. And I know you're not, so, but thank you for doing what you're doing, and everybody that came, thank you. It's been a joy to listen to you and share.
You know, I had just read a story about an Ontario farmer who sold his place in Ontario to go to New Brunswick, which is right by Nova Scotia. It's part of the Atlantic bubble. And even though they bought a place, another farm, and they're moving, they have to isolate in a hotel for 14 days, even though they have livestock while they're moving. So they were on the news saying, what do you want us to do with our livestock for 14 days? And the government's not giving any answers. No one's giving answers. And I mean, you know, we know what to do. Just go and move and don't go to the hotel. But these people are trying to do it by the law, and they're being penalized for this.
We got 60 military that showed up in Halifax to help with the vaccine. Yeah, that's encouraging, isn't it? I'm glad I'm not in Halifax anymore.
And
So speaking of which, she brought up vaccine, and I'm curious as to, I've always wondered, is the vaccine situation for like goats and animals just as screwed up and twisted as it is for people? Is that something that like, or that's more actually giving you just stuff that really does help? I've just always wondered that.
that's a good question. So I haven't had these goats checked with a vet. And even for our dogs, we did not give them any shots, not even their rabies shots. So they're not registered with the county. They're not, we'll see how long it can go. And
A long time, because
yeah,
from
I'm
what I
assuming,
that there are no vaccines. Even rabies supposedly doesn't exist. So we've been, assaulting our animals for so long. I pray best to stay undercover as long as you can.
yeah, I'm just assuming it's the same as with humans, where it's just a big, pile of shit, and that people have heard over and over again. I've paid for, so they're going to keep paying for it.
yeah. We have an older Yorkie who developed breast cancer, and she almost died from it. And we stopped giving her yearly rabies shots, and she improved. So that's all I need to know.
Yeah, I mean, I
her
have
diet and
friends who are dog lovers, diehard, and oh yeah, every time we give her shot, she gets a tumor and has cancer. I'm like, all right, so yeah.
Yeah, I figured it was pretty much the same kind of situation as it was with people. That, same as with people, if you're giving someone proper nutrition or you're giving your animals proper nutrition, then vaccine really should be unnecessary. If you're taking care of them, loving them, and making sure they're eating right, and there's not a whole lot of stresses, because it's that balance between rest and stress, because you don't want something that's completely stress free. I mean, that's just, for people or for animals, you want to find that balance point between rest and stress is how you get the strongest. So yeah, I just wanted to ask that because I figured as much, but I've never really dug into it, and it would be a lot of work to dig into every different type of animal and like the vaccines they get and the compounds that are involved in them and all that. And I appreciate your approach of like, okay, prove to me I need to do this, and until you come to me and basically say I have to, like, I'm just going to keep it under the radar. So that's,
yeah. And goats, from what I understand, and I didn't really look into it, they're not regulated much, or if at all. I know with cows, you can't, like, it has to be, it's a regulated industry, especially with cow milk. You trying to sell unpasteurized cow milk or even consume it. They get pretty almost militant about it. But with goats, I forgot to mention the best part about it. We're going to have unpasteurized milk. And that's something that's, you can't put a price on.
No, and especially unpasteurized milk with all the healthy like fat content that goat milk has, and all the probiotics, and you just can't beat that whatsoever.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I mean, if you're getting milk from these animals and you're getting meat possibly from them, you certainly don't want vaccines running around in your system with all the shit that goes into them. So
Or even antibiotics. Try to keep that
yes,
as minimal as possible. So. And I just read the message, Amaret, I think. Yeah, I'd love to see that in Dojoearth if you can post the PDF. And just, I want to close on one quick thing because it came up again. I talked about it in Dojo, but my mother-in-law's here again. And yesterday it got heated debate again about vaccines, shedding, menstrual cycles being messed up. There's high level disinfo shill doctors out there promoting this. That's my personal take on it. So keep your head on, guys. They're going all out on the fear campaign. And if you honestly believe that a vaccinated person will shed and infect you, you might as well run into the woods and join me. I don't know. You're not going to survive out there. Because I told her, it's like, you still shop at Costco, right? Yeah. Okay. So, because she said she would never be around anyone who's vaccinated. I'm like, well, you still go to the store, right? Yeah. Okay. So you probably encountered 40% of people that are vaccinated. You're still, I don't know. I know it's a little off topic, but it's all over the feeds. It's all over the alternative websites. And check out Tom Barnett's latest video where he breaks it down on what might be causing these menstrual changes. And it's more to do with placebo and nocebo effect than anything to do with the shedding. So that's all, guys.
Yeah, my red flag went way up. Oh, sorry, Jeremy.
No, you're fine. Go ahead, Debbie.
I was gonna say my red flag went up and I didn't listen to it. And then I started seeing all these posts. They're not being censored at all. That's a sure sign. Why are they not fucking censoring it? So, and then when I saw that, I was like, you know, we're just making ourselves look so stupid right now.
And there's like, I don't know if they're laughing at us. It's like Dr. Tenpenny, Dr. Larry, Dr. Ruby. I don't know about you, but what kind of doctors are these? Like, and there's another doctor who used to be a guest on Oprah Winfrey show, and now she's pitching the whole virus shedding. I mean, it's so obvious, but if you do see yourself falling into fear of it, just check out Tom Barnett, Barnett. His latest video does a very nice breakdown of it. So
yeah,
thanks,
Tom
guys.
Barnett, I haven't seen his most recent video, but he's amazing. He's good on all types of front, not just the medical front, and he's speaking from firsthand experience when it comes to vaccine damage. Had an autoimmune disorder from it that nearly killed him, and yeah, just damn if Source didn't bless us with that guy. And just as a side note to the vaccine stuff you're talking about, just know that if you want to look into adverse reactions, just go to openbears.com or search open bears. It might even be .net, but it's basically the vaccine adverse reaction like reporting system or whatever. And just know that doctors are only suggested to report adverse reactions. They are not required. And so most estimates put it at somewhere around 1% actually get reported. And even with only 1% reported, there's still like 800,000 reported adverse injuries in Canada alone. So, you know, if you do the math on that, that means, you know, multiply that by 100.
And even for every other vaccine, like I mentioned it once before, I think in the home schooling group, my daughter had an MMR reaction when she was 2. It messed up her platelet levels in her blood. She was in and out of the top kids hospital in Toronto for 8 months. And she's better now. She recovered through natural ways. It was never, ever reported. No doctor would sign on it. They all said it's a coincidence that she had spontaneous bruising the very next day after her MMR. So just take the vaccine injury with a big grain of salt. So I know firsthand.
Thanks, Johnny. Really appreciate you doing these and bringing some cool stuff every week. And I really hope to be able to take part in a bunch more of these and have some content for you guys as we roll forward and get into Arizona and start our gardens up and put up some buildings. And yeah, I'm really loving what you're doing, man. Can't wait until you get that sawmill up and running. We can see some of the projects you do with that, because I know that's going to be
if the weather holds up. It's supposed to rain most of the week, but I kind of want to get the sawmill going so I can show you guys the progress of it. I built a canopy, a temporary shelter over it. Speaking of which, it just started to rain, so we're going to wrap it up. But yeah, thanks for joining me, guys, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Love you guys. See you.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
All right.